Hello, everyone. The graphic novel that I was assigned to read for my library analysis assignment was Kingdom Come. This graphic novel's creative team is Mark Wade and Alice Ross. I know a lot of you comic book fans may know them. The graphic novel was published by DC Comics and has a page length of 343 pages. Although the graphic novel is 343 pages, the comic book story itself only takes place between pages 10 and 205. The graphic novel does follow the three-act structure. Act 1 ends on page 57. Act 2 begins on page 58. Act 2 ends on page 157. Act 3 begins on page 158. And Act 3 ends on page 205. Therefore, it follows the quarter, half, quarter three-act structure. The story within Kingdom Come is very solid. It has a middle, beginning, and end, which any story that you'll ever read really needs to have. If it doesn't, it's not a complete story. The character arc for the main protagonist, Superman, is very interesting. The story actually starts off with a group of new heroes, the new generation, running amok, and the old heroes have retired. Now, you might say, why don't the other superheroes just jump back in? But a lot of these superheroes lost their will to fight when Superman retired. Therefore, Superman has to be persuaded to return, try to bring back some of the old members of the team to help him either, what's the word, rein in the young brash superheroes by force if necessary. Therefore, Wonder Woman takes a trip to go out to the farm and persuade Superman to come back and try to rein in Magog and all of the new heroes. It's a very interesting story, and the resolution is very satisfying and it's very controversial. Um, you may think this story is all about heroes, but there's also some villains tied into this story with Lex Luthor, Catwoman, and other villains actually trying to stir up the mess between humans and superhumans, metahumans. Um, the story has lots of transitions, and the transitions are sometimes hard to follow, especially, for example, with the transitions between the dream state that Norman McCoy and the Spectre are taking. Norman McCoy is having visions, and somehow he and the Spectre are going through each of his memories and our dreams one by one. And therefore, you can end up on a battlefield in one panel, and in the next panel, you're in the boardroom with Les Luthor and Catwoman and the Riddler. And it kind of gets sometimes it throws you off. I wouldn't say that it's confusing, but it will throw you off, and you'll be like, "Where am I?" So that's the transitional thing. Um, the directional flow is very good. I did not have any problem going from panel to panel, following the direction and path of the story. That's one thing I have to say about Kingdom Come. Is the directional flow is done very well. Um, they do attempt the mini comic. Um, is done to a degree with some positive reaction, but for the type of story that I think this is, with the action and with the jumping from scene to scene, I don't think it really works for this type of comic or for this type of graphic novel. Um, but other than that, the transitions are bearable. The directional flow is great. Um, Now that all of the actual homework stuff is over, um, as a comic book reader, as a comic book lover, I would really advise any person to read this story. This story is great. Um, like said, you start off with Superman. He really doesn't want to have anything to do with any superheroes, any justice for all, or anything like that. And it's really hard to see Superman start out like this. Um, but with the push from Wonder Woman, he gets back into the fight. Um, there's a lot of some superheroes that haven't that still are fighting. Flash is taking care of his city. Batman has Gotham on lock. Um, Green Lantern has his own Emerald City floating in space. Um, is real interesting, especially the look of Superman in an older condition. Um, Somehow, Wonder Woman doesn't age as much. Batman's really old, but the story is really great and really interesting for any aspiring writer to take a look at and read and get into. Um, as I said, the resolution was very controversial. The big battle scene was great with all of the heroes against heroes, with the villains in the background. Um, this is a wonderful graphic novel, and I would advise for any person to get it, to read it. Just get it. It's a great graphic novel.